Britain stole $45 trillion from one country. That's more than the entire U.S. economy. And they did it with something most people have never heard of. Look at this. A small, rainy island. No massive gold mines. No oil. Terrible weather. And yet, by the 1800s, Britain controlled 1/4 of the world's land and wealth. How? The answer isn't what you think. It wasn't just guns or ships. It was something far more brilliant and devastating. It was a company, but not just any company. This was a company with its own army, its own navy, and the legal right to wage war. If you want to understand how modern corporations got so powerful, how empires really built wealth, hit subscribe. Because today, we're exposing the greatest heist in human history. December 31st, 1600. Queen Elizabeth I signs a charter. She creates the East India Company. On paper, a trading company for spices. In reality, she just weaponized capitalism. Here's what made it different. Most companies sell products. The East India Company, it could mint its own money, make treaties with foreign rulers, build forts, raise armies, and declare war. Imagine if Amazon could just invade countries. That's what Britain created. But here's where it gets insane. Britain didn't just want to trade with India. In 1700, India produced 23% of the world's GDP. India was the world's manufacturing superhouse. They made the finest textiles, the best steel, incredible jewels. They were rich, and Britain wanted all of it. 1757. The Battle of Plassey. This is where everything changes. An East India Company officer named Robert Clive defeats the ruler of Bengal. But here's the thing. It wasn't really a battle. It was a bribe. Clive paid off the Bengal army's general. The battle was over in a few hours. And just like that, the East India Company controlled Bengal, the richest region in India. Over the next 100 years, this company, not the British government, a company, conquered all of India. Let that sink in. India went from producing nearly 1/4 of the world's wealth to almost nothing. Where did all that wealth go? Straight to Britain. Here's how they did it. Method number 1, taxes. The East India Company taxed Indian farmers up to 50% of their production. If you couldn't pay, they took your land. Between 1765 and 1938, Britain extracted approximately $45 trillion from India in today's money. Method number 2, deindustrialization. India was famous for textiles. British merchants bought Indian cloth and sold it in Europe at huge profits. But then, Britain figured out how to make their own textiles during the Industrial Revolution. So what did they do? They banned Indian textile exports, made it illegal. Then they flooded India with cheap British cloth, destroying India's textile industry. Some historians even say British officials cut off the thumbs of Indian weavers so they couldn't compete. Method number 3, famines. British policies caused multiple devastating famines. The Bengal famine of 1943 alone killed 3 million people. Why? Because Britain was exporting India's food, while Indians starved. Winston Churchill's response when told about the famine? Why hasn't Gandhi died yet? So what did Britain do with all this stolen wealth? They funded the Industrial Revolution. Indian and Caribbean profits financed Britain's factories, railways, and infrastructure. The wealth people admire in British museums, literally stolen. But here's the brilliant part. And by brilliant, I mean diabolical. Britain didn't just industrialize, they created the modern financial system. Banks, stock markets, insurance companies. The city of London became the world's financial capital. And here's the crazy thing, it still is. Today, London is the second largest financial center in the world, right after New York. That old money British wealth you hear about? It's not old, it's stolen. Now you might be thinking, that was centuries ago. What does this have to do with today? Everything. The East India Company model, a private corporation with government backing, operating with minimal oversight, sound familiar? Tech companies collecting your data, defense contractors profiting from wars, pharmaceutical companies setting drug prices. The blueprint started here. And Britain? They never paid it back. So when you see those British period dramas, those grand estates, those old money families, remember where that money came from. It came from the greatest wealth extraction in human history. $45 trillion, famines, deindustrialization, a systematic dismantling of the world's richest economy. A tiny rainy island didn't become rich through hard work alone. They became rich through the East India Company, the corporation that conquered a subcontinent. Next week, I'm breaking down how Spain found literal mountains of silver and somehow went bankrupt. The economics make no sense until you understand the price revolution. If you want to understand how empires really rise and fall, subscribe now. Comment below. Should there be reparations? Is historical wealth different from modern wealth? I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Like, share, and subscribe.